Cette vidéo vous est proposée par Étape, magazine leader européen consacré au design graphique. Étape existe en version anglaise, espagnole et chinoise. Pour feuilleter un exemplaire ou vous abonner, rendez-vous sur étape.com/preview.
We met each other in the Art Academy, Gerrit Rietveld Academy in Amsterdam, and we were in the same class, graphic design, where we studied together. And in that school, we sort of right away found each other's work most interesting and started hooking up more. And on the side, working together on projects outside of school. So we worked a lot for clubs like the Roxy Club in Amsterdam, which is a discotheque where we did the flyers for. When we were already in the second year, we started doing that because there was a lot of opportunity for us to meet other people than only the in-school people. And right after the graphic design department, we graduated and we were already working together very often with a third person also. We founded a company called Dept in 1996. We graduated and we founded that company. And it was just a continuation of our graphic design work in school. And we had some of these club nights as clients already. And from that on, we just designed all that there was to do, a lot of music related work. And that company called Dept split up in 2001. And then we went on to go on as Machine. So that's it in a nutshell.
What changed for you since the beginning and now?
Well, what never really changed is that we never really qualified ourselves merely as graphic designers or as visual artists or as musicians or as, we always believed that all these sort of different occupations could blend together and become something else, or, fortify one another, or, music can enhance your design skills and vice versa. So we never really settled for saying, okay, we're putting graphic designers on our, on our company plate and put that on the building, because it always depends on what sort of projects you're working on. Is it designing a magazine? Yeah, it's graphic design, but when you're doing a video performance, it's art, or an installation, it's art, and then all of a sudden you do a business card for a friend, that's really design, and then we make music. I make music, Mark DJs. We've always worked with multiple media, and that really never changed. That always stayed the same, sort of the hunger to explore new ways of working, to do do clothing, do everything that sort of comes on your way you want to do. And I believe that's because we're part of the first generation that was totally raised with computers. In school, when I started, it was without the computer, but there was only 1 year, thank God. Then the Apples arrived and life became better. And for me at least, I don't think I would have ever become successful if it weren't for the computer. But that computer showed us that you can use Quark Express, but you can also use Sound Edit. So when we started working together for this club, we did radio commercials and flyers and sort of the decoration and the video for the night itself. So it was sort of a Gesamtkunstwerk,
Now it's more overall art direction, like big advertising companies do for bigger companies, but then on a very small, independent scale. Because these clubs had decoration to be done, but then we thought, we could also design a t-shirt for them to wear behind the bar. And then we got involved with the DJs that produced music and said, could you make my album, because it has to look like the club night. So it became one thing where we do a multiple of media disciplines, which was very normal because the computer had it all in there on that Apple machine. You could do interactivity, so you could make their website, and suddenly you had to do with animation, and then you think, oh yeah, we can also do animation. And before you know it, it's this creative explosion of all the things you could do on this one machine. So we are more triggered by all the things around us and are too eager to try everything than to focus maybe like people before who was so
you were either an illustrator or a designer or an artist.
Photographer or every chance that we got to make, even it was even it was a small business card for a friend or a big logo for a corporate company or something for the post office, we always did it with the same energy to try to come up with something that pushes the boundary of graphic design, or take risks in graphic design, or take a stand that could be wrong, but that risk taking in itself was for us the main reason of doing it. We saw a lot of stuff that we thought, okay, that can be solved differently, or that we can maybe do that better, or let's try it. And a lot of design, I think, all over the world, and also in music, a lot of people play by safe rules that are guaranteed for success. And what is great about our clients, besides that they don't really have money to pay us, but the great thing is that they give you creative freedom to push the boundaries. And that is with all these more cultural clients, like music for us, is that we spend a lot of time designing for music. They give you, almost everybody, total creative freedom to come up with a new world that you created. So what should house or drum and bass or two-step or grunge look like? Nobody knows. You just create that world for them. And that's what we are, we are still close to the music industry. But that approach can also be taken on total different levels. You can also do that for commercial agency with the same sort of attitude of trying to create something that nobody has seen before.
Do you think that the people in the client in Holland are more open to new ideas than anywhere else, or no?
In Holland is a strong cultural foundation for graphic designers. I mean, on the one hand you have the funding, which is quite unique. Everybody who graduates from an art school can apply for government funding. They sort of give you a startup bonus. They just give it to you, providing you have some, form of intelligence and talent. And then there's all sorts of grants you can apply for: traveling grants, project grants, publication grants, and stuff like that. And there is, of course, at least in the past, now it's going downhill, of course, like everywhere, but there were some quite big institutions who spend a lot of money on graphic design, like the postal office. Up until a couple of years ago, they made really, it was really a cultural institution. Now it's all Disney and all crap. But I mean, then there's a couple of big museums that do stuff, and there's
we
there's
really
a lot of
have to
book
give
design.
credit to the guys at the postal office. It was a big organization, but the guys who were in charge of finding these designers were always on top of their game, because we were asked to do a stamp that was also in this magazine we showed in 1996, when the first year we graduated, when we were in a space maybe this small with just 3 computers squeezed in, with mouses everywhere, and it was really small, and we were just beginning, and we made some of these flyers for clubs. And they picked us up and said, could you do something that was for the younger generation? They had a stamp for kids, and not kids, but teenagers. And we were really like blown away, like, wow, this big, not commercial company, but this big institution of graphic design, and all our heroes made 1 or 2 or 3, and now suddenly they ask these young kids, so they were quite loyal also.
So we're actually designing money that people lick, how fantastic can it be? And we tried to squeeze in our company name on one. That, of course, didn't really work. But that only goes to show that there is a field for experimental design, but that doesn't mean that there's a lot of experimentation necessarily. But I think that there is a good, soil for cultural design, sort of. And of course, what our opinion is that a lot of, the so-called cultural design also goes by a lot of aesthetic rules that they pretend not to have, Same as in the commercial world, certain rules apply. So certain fonts are used in the, on commercials, but also certain fonts are used, in that whole cultural sector. And we think the best thing to do is sort of fly in between all those scenes, One day you're in a club, next day you're in a museum, then you're maybe doing something on the street, That's the way we like to operate. But Holland is a good country for graphic designers still.